Hey everybody, happy 2017. I'm so happy that you're here. I hope you had a wonderful and peaceful holiday season. Kicking back off with our Asana Q&As today, I've got this question. This person says, "Hey Meredith, a few short months ago, I walked into my school counselor's office and began therapy. He asked what I wanted to get out of counseling, and I told him I needed help seeking truth, that I have felt confused a lot of my life, and I have a hard time discerning truth from lies when it comes to my parents. Well, now I found my way to realizing that is because my mother is likely a narcissist, and I even have the diagnosis from a psychiatrist, quote, daughter of narcissistic mother now. I'm just wondering, though, how I know for sure she is a narcissist because she seems to be able to show some empathy. She will cry during movies and has empathized with me when I have depression. However, she also will turn around and call me crazy because I used to be on meds and have been in a psych ward. Can some people be on the scale and still show some empathy, or am I mistaking good acting for empathy? Thanks." So first of all, great job getting yourself into therapy. That's awesome. You got yourself into therapy. It sounds like you found a knowledgeable psychiatrist who diagnosed you as a daughter of a narcissistic mother. That's got to feel incredibly validating. And I'm so happy for you that you found that support. That's just got to be enormously validating. I also understand the struggle of still trying to work that out and just trying to accept that. And I think the hardest ones are accepting the parents, accepting the mother, accepting the father as the narcissist. It's like that's the one person in our lives that we just don't want to believe is like that, because why not? Like, who actually wants to believe that their parent doesn't love them and doesn't have empathy for them? It's a very devastating realization to have, but it's wonderful that you have the professional support there. So here's my take on the whole empathy thing. It's possible that your mother seems to show empathy at times. She might have small capabilities of empathy, small ones, when it serves her in some sort of way. What you'll also find is that the people who cry or easily even have their emotions driven and manipulated by movies, advertising, news, funerals, right? Sometimes it's the narcissists or the other cluster Bs who are wailing the loudest at the movies, the news, the different terrorist attacks and things that happen, or when a person dies in the funeral. Like, it's quite often the narcissist that's putting on the biggest show. It appears to be empathy, but it's just a show. So that's often what's happening in these situations. Again, there could be moments of lucidity and empathy, or small amounts of empathy that they may have, though usually it's when it's like it serves something for them, for their image and the perception in public, or your perception of their image, or to get you in deeper. Because if you think that they're very empathic, you're going to start trusting them more, you're going to be more deeply involved, and it really softens you, because if you feel or assume that there's empathy there, you kind of soften into that, and now they can really control you, because in a way you're almost dependent on that empathy. You get used to that empathy. I think when you can really tell if someone has empathy or not, it's when you're not well. So when you get sick, when you get injured, when you're down on life, or when you don't feel good about something that they did or something between the two of you, that's when you will see the truth about their empathy. And it's in those situations. So any of you who have been in a relationship with a narcissist and you got sick, usually what happens is that person not there. They don't give a crap that you're sick. In fact, they might be upset that you're putting them out because you're sick or you're injured, right? They're MIA, not available, no empathy available, or act like it's the worst thing to have to help you. Couple examples of that quickly. Once I went to Canada for this interview in Toronto to teach English in Japan. My boyfriend at the time and I went together. We were going to do this. We're going to move abroad to Japan. And the universe gave me this sign, like at 4 o'clock in the morning in the hotel. We got there the night before because we had an early interview. 4:30 and it's like freezing outside. It's like January, February in Toronto, utterly freezing. And the hotel like barely has any heat. 4 o'clock in the morning, I am like puking. I am so sick. I have some kind of flu. I don't know even what hit me. Like it just came on out of nowhere. Obviously, I couldn't go to the interview. Like I could barely spend 10 minutes away from the toilet in the bathroom. And it's freezing in there. Like there's barely any heat. And so he's in bed, you know, sleeping or kind of not sleeping because obviously I'm sick. And so, you know, it's the middle of the night. So finally around 8 o'clock in the morning, I know the office opens at 8 o'clock downstairs, and inside the office is a vending machine. It was a cheap hotel. Inside there was a vending machine. The vending machine had soda. And you know, when you're sick to your stomach, ginger ale or something of that nature could feel really calming. And sometimes when you're really, really sick, it's like the only thing that you're craving. Like you can't even drink water. You just throw it up. You need the bubbles. You need something in there. I couldn't stumble down the hallway, down the stairs. Like I was not okay. And I said to him, here's some money, please. Can you go get me a soda? And he was like, you want me to go now? I was like, yeah, now. You know, but didn't get it at all. And it was like I had to beg him to go get me a can of fucking soda because I was sick. Like that's how little empathy he had. So you'll see that. Again, last year in Peru, I got really sick off the food. Sometimes every now and then you get some kind of bacteria that your digestive system is not used to. Horrible food poisoning. So I asked my lover, this person who was living with me, I was like, can you please go get me some bubble water? You know, the fizzy water. Please, I'm feeling really sick. Here's some money. And he's like, and where is the water? I'm like, at the store down the street. You want me to go to the store to get the water? Yes, please. And then, you know, he went out and got the water, but then disappeared. Like I didn't see him for another 24 hours. He didn't even come back to the house because he didn't want to see me. He didn't want me to ask him for another friggin' favor. He didn't want to even have to be inconvenienced by the fact that I was sick, right? And this is when you're the codependent and you're the one always taking care of that person, and then you need help one day or 1 week out of your life because you get sick or injured, that person does not want anything to do with you. That's how you will see their empathy comes out. Or like a year and 2 months ago, when I was at the bottom of the bottom, total PTSD crash, came back from Peru, had to go spend some time at my parents' house, and I was telling my mom about my hopes and dreams for the future, and she's like, oh, I can't believe you're going to do that. Just give up on the coaching thing. Just go get a job at the mall. I thought that she was just like exhausted by me trying to be successful and not being successful in life. I thought that's what this was. But then later I learned that when a person does this to their forehead or touches their forehead like this, it's a deep shame. She was so ashamed of me for being at the bottom of my life. Why couldn't I just go get a job and pretend like everything was okay? Why couldn't I just, you know, whatever, and just get on with it? Like, it was just, there's this deep shame about me being at the bottom of the bottom in my life. So like these kinds of things, that's when you will see the truth about their empathy. Or that covert narcissist / sociopath that I was in a relationship with, everything was fine because I kept going with things for months on end, maybe 7 months, 8 months. And then all of a sudden something happened and I was like, well, hold on a second, because he was about to leave. And I was like, this isn't okay. We need to talk about this. I don't feel good about this. You're just going to leave? And he was like, yep. And walked out the door. And he didn't give a crap about my feelings. Not a crap about my feelings. As soon as I had an issue with us, he was gone, right? But being the good codependent, for months, you're just like always taking care of them and making sure they're okay. And if they have any issues, you're like, how can I help? And like, yeah, let's talk about it. Tell me about your feelings. Tell me about what happened. But they don't want anything to do with you. They don't want to help you at all, especially if it has to do with them. But so these are the situations when you really see someone's true colors come out of empathy. And another huge one that I experienced myself with family members, and that I have heard from so many other clients who went through sexual abuse in childhood. When later as adults, they tried to talk to family members about what happened, and the family members had zero empathy for them. They just wanted them to shut up. They didn't want to talk about it. They didn't, oh, you just got to bring all these heavy, just can't you put that away? Can't we just, he's dead now and he was a great person in society, or I doubt that that's true, or nothing happened to me, so it couldn't have happened to you, or I just don't want to be bothered with this. Whatever the response is to that sort of communication, if it's like that and it's not, oh my God, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how you feel about that. Let's talk about anything you want to talk about. I'm here, and I'll hug you, and we'll sit here and we can cry about it until something comes about it, and let's see if we can get you help. No, that's not their response at all. I just had a client last week who told me when she tried to tell her parents about childhood abuse, and she was just asking questions. She wasn't even telling them who it was because she doesn't remember who it was. She just knows it happened. And she tried to ask questions and they shut her out and they hung up the phone on her, right? No empathy. That's the test of empathy. That's the test of empathy right there, is when you're down, how do they respond? Because anybody can put on a good show, the rest of the time, but that's when you see their true colors come through. That's when you see it. And the thing is that earlier on, and like other things that happen, like we read into them, we're like, oh, they must have empathy if they're crying at this movie because it's really sad. Or they must have empathy if they see this bird with a broken wing and they go, oh. We just assume that they have empathy because that's how we would read ourselves or someone like us, but that's a whole different animal. The cluster B thing is a whole different animal. And the louder that a person has to tell you that they're so empathic and I'm an empath and I'm an empath. And I'm not saying this is everyone who says that, but the louder someone tells you that, I would be more cautious of how empathic they really are. Just like the person who's always telling you, oh, I never lie and I don't believe in lying and I always tell the truth and I'm not like those people who always lie. That's probably the person who's going to lie to you, right? So be cautious. The more a person has to tell you who they are, quite likely they're covering something up. So keep that in mind as well. I'll often hear borderlines talk about how empathic they are and how much they feel, and no one understands how hard it is to be them. But then they're abusing other people and justifying that abuse based on their pain, on how they feel, just in life in general, or based on the fact that they've been abused as kids. There's no empathy there. They're not putting themselves in that other person's shoes. Because if they were, they would have, that's what empathy is when you can feel the pain of someone else, when you can feel someone else. You can put yourself in their shoes and literally feel that. Their empathy is about themselves predominantly. It's about how much pain they're in, right? Because if they actually had empathy for that other person, they would recognize the effects of their behavior on that person. So be very cautious the louder a person talks about how empathic they are, or the bigger the show they put on, like at a funeral. You can go to a funeral and you can pick out the narcissist, right? There's the normal grieving and sadness and crying that normal people feel. And then there's the narcissist, and they're just wailing above everybody else, and they're talking about how much they did for that person, and they're just going above and beyond. Then you see what they're doing. It looks like empathy, but it's not. It's all a superficial image that they're trying to portray. Now, you talked about discerning truth from lies. So this is a big, big part of the healing journey for those of us who went through abuse. PTSD in general, whether it's caused by abuse or a random act of God, like a natural disaster or some kind of thing that happened at war, the major wound from that, again, also through relationships, is the trust. Because you lose trust in yourself, you lose trust in other people, and you lose trust in the universe and God sometimes. Because how could that have happened? How could God have let that happen? How could a universe that loves and supports me have allowed that to happen? That sort of belief. Or how could you trust somebody because they did that to you? Or how could you trust yourself because how didn't you see it? This is the core wound of the PTSD. That resolving the PTSD is around resolving the self-trust, right? So discernment, that you mentioned this word discernment, is a basic part of self-trust. Discernment is one form of intuition, and it's a binary intuition. It's yes or no. It's one or the other. It's okay or not okay. It's yes or no. And it's one or the other. It's not, there's no gray in between. It's just knowing this is safe for you or not safe for you. This is okay for you. This is not okay for you. It's a very subtle but noticeable feeling. Like your body will tell you that. There will be some kind of subtle feeling. The trouble is that when your mind is spinning and confused and you're in the fog and you're in the hypnotic trance and all of that from the abuse, the cognitive dissonance, you're distracted by your mind. So you're not going to be sensitive to this feeling. You're not going to notice the feeling. The more you calm the mind down, the more you start getting a grip over your self-talk and you start reprogramming your self-talk, the calmer your mind gets, the more aware you are of that subtle yes or no. The more when you're in a conversation with somebody and they're saying something, all of a sudden, maybe you're going along and everything's okay, and then all of a sudden your body just goes, no. And it's like your body is rejecting what they're saying. For some reason, it's not okay for you. It's not. It's a yes or a no, and there's some way that your body is telling you no. Maybe your body just shuts down and you shut off, and maybe you're like, oh man, I feel like I'm kind of being a bitch. Like I'm not being my usual self. But sometimes you got to recognize that that's your body's boundary. That's your internal natural boundary shutting things down because not safe over there. Engaging with that person is not safe. So that's a very subtle form of intuition, is knowing yes or no, safe or not, okay or not okay. It's kind of similar to the gut feeling. The gut feeling is your primal sense of intuition. Intuition can be of the gut, it can be of the heart, it can be of sort of like the supraconscious mind. So those are more complex forms. Let's start with the body, with the gut feeling, because that's the primal intuition, and the body doesn't lie. Your mind and your heart can lie. Your mind and your heart can get caught up in illusion and fantasy, and you could really get lost out there. But your body will tell you the truth. And when you're ignoring the truth, your body will start to manifest symptoms. You'll start to get sick. You'll start to get pains. You'll start to develop some sort of illness. Your body is telling you something's not okay. Something's not okay in your life. So you just need to learn to recognize those subtle signs that your body is sending to you. So what is your body telling you? Oftentimes when I talk to clients and I help them to recognize how their body is communicating with them, how they can start to get back in touch with their gut intuition, their gut feeling, that primal intuition. So I'll ask them, if you think back to the beginning, now knowing what you know, those red flags that came up, what was your body telling you? What form of intuition was your body telling you? Like, this isn't okay, something's not right here. And in probably 85% of the time, people tell me it was my stomach. It was something in my stomach wasn't okay. And it's perfectly symbolic because it's like your stomach is your digestion. There's something you couldn't digest there. There's something you didn't really want to swallow. You can't digest it. It won't go through your digestive system because it's not okay. And so your stomach is telling you, ugh, like, I feel queasy, I feel upset, I feel something's not right, I feel like this hollowness in the gut, whatever that is. But really listen to your body. Really listen. The opposite form might be chills of truth. Like when you hear something that is so true to you, it's like your whole body becomes electric. Like your hair stands up and you get goosebumps and you're like, yes, like that is so true. And your body is confirming that. So it can work in both ways. The point is to start to recognize the unique language that your body is telling you, those intuitive feelings, telling you the gut feeling of this is okay, it's not okay, something's not right here, or something feels great. This is a green light. Your body is going to send you a red light, green light, or maybe even the yellow light of caution sort of thing. So start to become more aware of your body. I have this new training that's coming out, this new course called Self-Care Mastery. It's almost done. I'm working on the bonus sections, and then I have to do the PDF downloads. I know I've been talking about this for months. It's finally almost there. Hopefully within the next 2 weeks, that's going to be up and ready to go. And I really go into this part of the healing. Part of the self-care is getting recontacted with, reconnected with, or perhaps connected for the first time in your life. if you grew up in a family like that, where you learned since childhood to ignore your intuition and to stuff it down and to ignore the messages your body was telling you, and that has nothing to do with your mind or whatever is going on in your life. So I really help people to rebuild that sense of trust, the trust in self, the trust in others, the trust in the universe. Because how do you know what else to trust or who else to trust outside of you if you don't trust yourself? It's the same reason why I tell people, in fact, I did that one video on test for the psychopath or test for the narcissist, and I recommend going to like the Psychopath Free website and to Dana's Thrive After Abuse channel and see the videos on the red flags and read the list of the red flags in the Psychopath Free website. There's like over 100 of them. It's really great to know that stuff, but keep in mind, all of that is intellectual. And when you are in the moment with someone, quite likely all of that intellectual stuff will fall apart. Your mind will start confusing you and doubting things and not really sure. And the only thing that's left is your intuition. That's the truest test of, is that person okay for you or not okay for you? Your intuition. So you have to rebuild that connection to your intuition to move forward, to feel like you're healing from the PTSD, because the intuition is your primal sense of trust. If you can trust your intuition, then you can trust yourself. And if you trust yourself, then you know that if you meet a person who's got some of these patterns, you're going to recognize it because you trust yourself. You're not going to doubt yourself anymore and believe them instead of you, which was the old pattern of codependency, of putting everybody else's needs before yours or putting everybody else's opinions and perceptions of reality ahead of your own. You now recognize when your body is telling you something's not right. And even if you have no proof, if that person is not admitting to you what they're doing and you have no other rational proof in the real world, but you just have that intuitive feeling, you gotta listen to that intuitive feeling. Chances are you'll get the proof later. Maybe you never will, but chances are very high that you just saved yourself from an enormous nightmare by listening to your truth, by listening to your intuition. So that's a big part of the healing journey, is reconnecting with that sense of inner trust through the intuition. It starts with ourselves. Everything starts with ourselves. We can't know if we can trust somebody else if we don't trust ourselves, right? That has to come first. So, I just want to also validate you. You are not crazy. I'm so sorry that your mom said that to you. And quite likely that's because she was unable to self-examine and recognize that the reason you were in a psych ward was probably due to being raised by a narcissistic mother, right? She's completely incapable of recognizing that. It's just easier for her to go, you're crazy. Remember, you were in the loony bin, right? I'm very sorry that you were in that situation and that you felt so invalidated and that you were just driven to that point where like you're feeling like you're losing your mind. So many of us were there. So many of us. And you're not alone. You're not crazy. I'm really happy that you're starting to figure things out, that you're getting yourself into therapy, you're getting allies, you're getting professional allies, and you found a good psychiatrist who recognized that you are the daughter of a narcissistic mother. Be patient with yourself and understand that you may not be able to fully accept that for a while. It might be that it takes a year or more of work and work and work, and then some situation happens where you finally see her for who she is, or you have some spontaneous aha, oh my God, or WTF moment where you suddenly see it and get it, like at the core, at a visceral level. Be patient with yourself. It takes time. It's really, really hard to face the parental ones. Really, really, really hard, because those are the people that you most hope and want to be there for you, to be loving, to be supportive. And, when you see these kinds of back and forth, 180-degree things, like it seems like she's being empathic sometimes, but then she tells you that you're crazy because you were in the thing. So that's when you know that there's a discrepancy there with who that person really is. Like they're abusing you and they're putting you down, but then they're in some way they're flattering you, or they're giving you some kind of example of what appears to be kindness or what appears to be empathy. So caution when you're seeing the flip-flop like that. Big caution that something's not right there. So I am sending you a big, big hug. Be patient with yourself. Any of you listening to this who are still struggling to accept the fact that your mother or your father is a narcissist, be patient with yourself. Keep facing the truth. Keep looking at it. Keep a list, just like we say in relationships. Keep a list of all the abusive, manipulative things that they did. That way, when you're getting to that point of self-doubt and questioning, you can go back to that list and you can really read over those things and remind yourself, okay, this person doesn't have empathy. Look at this, look at that, look at that, look at that. I'm not crazy. That really happened. No matter how much they're pretending in the moment that that never happened, that they're, a wonderful mother, wonderful father, wonderful wife or husband, whatever, you have that list and you can go back to that for a reality check. Keep giving yourself the reality check. Keep being patient with yourself. Keep confronting the truth. Eventually you will break through. And it's fantastic that you have professional support along the way. I'm sending you a big hug.